Hey guys, so I just got back from a pre-screening of Ted 2. I was looking forward to this for the most part. I'm a pretty big fan of the first Ted, and that movie I was kind of going in with low expectations, mainly because while I'm a fan of Seth MacFarlane, I'm not always a fan of his comedy, especially Family Guy. I really can't stand Family Guy for the most part. Sometimes it can be funny, but for the most part, I just cannot stand it. And I always see it kind of like a rip off of fucking South Park, in my opinion. And like the humor in it is very hit and miss, mainly miss. Um, and I remember going into Ted thinking, "Oh, great, this is gonna be a live action Ted or Family Guy episode of Mark Wahlberg and a talking teddy bear," and it exceeded all expectations. It blew me away, like how funny it was. I love the stuff with Flash Gordon original. I thought that was some of the funniest bits in the whole movie. Uh, just because I mean, good God, like I think the people that enjoyed those jokes the most were me because I'm a big movie buff and all movie buffs like me, and people that grew up in the '80s and grew up on Flash Gordon. And kids nowadays probably didn't get half the jokes, but I fucking did. I loved every joke about Flash Gordon in that movie, and that wasn't the only thing I loved about the movie. I just loved the plot. As absurd as it was, it worked for me. So when I heard they were making a sequel to Ted, I was like, I don't know about this. It's like this is one of those. I don't think you really need a sequel to it. Then I saw the trailer and I went, okay, why not? Ted wants to get his civil rights. Fuck it, I'll go with it. I was like, at least they're trying to do something different here. Um, and they're not trying to copy the exact same plot from what it looked like of the first movie. That works for me. Fine, whatever. So, I will say this. I liked Ted too. I did. It's not nearly at all as good as the first one, but it worked enough for me that I kind of liked it. If you liked the first one, I guarantee you probably will like this one. Um, there was a lot of things I didn't like about it, but there were a lot of things I did like about it. So it was kind of an in the middle movie. Um, I liked the first one. One of the biggest things I love about this one was the chemistry between Seth MacFarlane, who's playing Ted obviously, and Mark Wahlberg. Their chemistry together is fucking flawless. They work well off one another, and they like the best scenes were just watching those two bond as like two pot smoking buddies. Uh, and it was adorable. It was honestly it was fucking adorable, and I actually kind of cared about these characters. I actually cared about Ted getting his civil rights. I wanted to see the poor fucker get his civil rights, man. I was like, give the poor teddy bear his civil rights. I love the fact like half the time they're like to do research or to while they're talking about civil rights, they're watching stuff like Roots and comparing himself to Roots. I like the fact that this movie is not just about. It's a little bit more. It's a lot more into the. There's a lot more to the story than just him wanting civil rights. He wants the movie begins where him and Tammy Lynn get married, and then it cuts to 1 year later, and Ted is in a wife beater. I'm not making this shit up, and and he's arguing with her about the dinner she cooked and how it sucked or something. I can't remember. And then they're having marriage troubles, which is that is just weird. And then they said, "Oh, maybe we'll try to have a baby." First thing they do, first person they try to go to is Flash Gordon, who makes a few cameos in this movie. And he tells him he can't because of all the after all the cocaine he did in the '80s, he only has one sperm left. That's pretty funny. And then they go to Tom Brady if you've seen that, and then Mark Wahlberg donates, and it results in one of the worst jokes in the whole movie. That I went, oh god, it's the scene where you see him tip over that shelf of sperm, and it all lands on him, and he's just covered in sperm. I'm not making that up. You see just full glory. And the female doctor comes in like, oh my god, what happened? He's like, oh, I'm sorry, it was an accident. He's like, oh, don't worry about it. That was all the sickle cell rejects. And Ted, I'm not making this shit up, says, he says, oh, you got all black men jizz on you. You look like one of the Kardashians. I'm like, oh, I was like, that was a really terrible joke. There was there was another joke like that. I forget where. I can't remember. It's been I can't remember. And then they find out Tammy Lynn can't even have a kid because of all the drugs she's done. It makes her infertile. Has like all these black spots in her ovaries. I'm not making that shit up. And then they try to go to adopt a kid, and she has drug problems. And the state of Massachusetts doesn't find him as a human, but a thing. And so they have to fight for civil rights, yada, yada, yada. There you go. It's like, there's a lot more, like I said, going on with the plot. There's also, actually, I'll talk about that in a little bit in a second, the other subplot. But, you got Amanda Seyfried that takes over for Mila Kunis. Don't know what the fuck happened to Mila Kunis. Somebody explain to me in the comments why she isn't it. The only reason I can think of is that she was pregnant at the time. I was really surprised that she didn't do this movie. Her and Mark Wahlberg get a divorce in between the two movies, and that's how they explain her character not being in this thing. And then they start a love relationship between him and Amanda Seyfried, which they don't have as much good chemistry as I thought as Mila Kunis, him and Mila Kunis, but yeah. I love. It did result in one of my favorite jokes is that Ted keeps comparing her to Gollum. That was pretty fucking funny. But yeah, I guess I should get into some of the things I didn't like about this movie. Mainly, the problem I have with this movie is that it felt like. I thought at first, I'm not sure, somebody maybe could correct me on this, but I thought, for the most part, Seth MacFarlane wrote the first Ted. I might be wrong on this. But with this one, he's got two of the writers from Family Guy added on as writers for this film. I think they did write the second one, or the first one, but I think it was mainly Seth MacFarlane's story. I might be wrong on that. But anyways, it definitely feels like Family Guy writers were tacked on into this movie, because a lot of the jokes in this movie feel like jokes from fucking Family Guy. The kind of jokes that I fucking can't stand. And that there are a lot of random jokes that have nothing to do with the story, that there's just thrown in there that feel like the pad timing. And they feel like they have no fucking point at all. Or either that or just don't go anywhere. Jokes that just don't go nowhere. Here's two good examples. Movie opens, like, about 10 minutes into the movie. You get two back-to-back random cameos that have no purpose whatsoever. One scene, Ted is at the bar. He tells the bartender, oh, I'll never tell anybody that Jay Leno comes in here to have gay sex in the bathroom. And then in the background, you hear Mark Wahlberg going, hey, man, get the fuck away from me. And then you see Jay Leno walking out. Literally, it's Jay Leno walking out of the bathroom. You're like, what the fuck? Like, all right, that was a weird cameo. And that's it. Scene ends. And then the next scene, Ted is ringing up customers. And somebody drops a box of Trix cereals on the counter, and if camera pans up, and it's Liam Neeson, I just literally went like, what the fuck? Like, and then he's asking he's like, I hear this Trix for kids. I can't do this justice. is for kids, or this Trix cereal's for kids. Is it alright if I buy this for me, since I'm not a kid? And this goes on and on and on and on for 3 minutes. The same joke about whether he could buy Trix cereal. It goes on for 3 minutes, and then it ends. That's it. That's Liam Neeson's whole fucking cameo in this. You're like, what the fuck was the point of that? It was like, there was no fucking point other than just say, Liam Neeson's in this movie. What the fuck was that? Alright. Like, alright, I know there was random cameos, like, in the first one, like, Ryan, God damn, what's his name? Shit. Anyways, I'm trying to forget his name. The guy that was Green Lantern. He makes a cameo, says nothing. But that didn't feel as weirdly placed out of nowhere as this did. That fucking was just like, what was the point of that? Like, he never pops up later in the movie at all or anything like that. Also, there's a running gag about every time they Google something, the search for black cocks pops up. I am not making that shit up. No matter what they type up in Google, black cocks, search for black cocks pops up. And you're like, that makes no sense. And that's stupid. And they continue that gag throughout the whole goddamn movie. There's also a gag about candy being on a desk and whether they can take it. And literally the first time they have that scene happens, it kind of cuts to Mark Wahlberg and Ted, and it just like in their reactions to what whoever it was said that they couldn't have the candy, and it just lingers on them for a while, and you're like, okay, cut, somebody, what the hell's going on? Like, there's like a lot of just, I don't know. And what was the other? There was another joke that I'm forgetting here. I don't know. Fuck it. Also, there was this weird joke. This was a random joke that did work for me. Actually, did work for me. Where Ted is driving them to New York for like 20 minutes, and he crashes their car into a barn. And when they can't get the car out of the barn, so they have to stay overnight. And they find out it's a pot farm. And it results in one of my favorite jokes in the whole movie that I laughed out loud. When they pan over to the field of pot, the rows and rows of pot that are in this field, it plays Jurassic Park music for some reason. I'm not making that shit up. That made me laugh really hard. I'm like, I don't know why that was so funny, but it worked for me. But then Ted comes out from the barn with a cowboy hat, a guitar, and a shotgun. And you're like, okay, this is going to result in a cameo somewhat. Like, like who's going to be the owner of this pot farm? You expect somebody big. Like, they even said, like, who owns this pot farm? So I'm expecting, like, all right, they're going to, like, have a big funny reveal or something. I was like, maybe Willie Nelson. I don't know. And so the scene basically ends and you don't find out who the fuck owned that pot farm. I was like, that was a joke that really just went nowhere. Okay, fuck it, why not? I was like, alright, fuck it. Like I said, there's a lot of just random jokes. That's just a few examples of like random jokes that have no purpose whatsoever, or like have no payoff whatsoever. Or like hell, there's another good example. There's a scene where there's just a random fight at Comic-Con that goes on for like 5 fucking minutes, and it's pointless. Pointless. It has a lot of like people dressed up as like, I don't know, different characters fighting each other, and it's just pointless. It serves no purpose, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. And like, get the fuck on with it. Now let me get into my other problem with this movie. it felt like this movie. It's like almost 2 hours, and it feels like it. Because it felt like this movie had like an hour and a half of material, and then they ran out of ideas. So they said, fuck it. Let's copy and paste the last 40 minutes of Ted 1 and put it in this film. Because literally, beat by beat, same shit happens in the last 40 minutes of this movie that happened in the first movie. Not making this shit up. Literally, I'm kind of getting the spoilers, but fuck it. There's a plot where the creepy guy, Giovanni Ribisi, pops back up again. He is a janitor now for Hasbro, and he convinces the owner of Hasbro to kidnap Ted so that they can cut Ted open and find out what makes him become alive. And so then they can take that, whatever makes him become alive, and copy that into a million other Teds that can come to life. And then they got this product. Well, obviously, like the first one, Giovanni Ribisi steals Ted again and has almost every fucking thing like that happened in the first one. It happens exactly the same way almost in this one, including a very sad moment that, like, although there was people in the theater that were kind of getting emotional, I could tell. I pretty much didn't, because I knew where it was going, because I saw the first one. And it exactly went the exact way I knew it was gonna go, and it was like, fuck it. There's no suspense that, you know, a certain person was gonna die, because I seen the fucking first movie. And it was lazy fucking writing, like, literally lazy writing. Like, you just copied the exact same fucking ending to basically your first movie. That's really lazy. It kind of felt like I was watching the comedic equivalent of Star Trek Into Darkness, where Star Trek Into Darkness worked for the first half, but then when they decided to become a remake of Wrath of Khan, it fucking fell apart for me. This is what it kind of felt like. It did. Yeah, absolutely did. Again, I like this movie. I want people to think I didn't like this movie. I laughed at it. There was a lot of stuff I laughed at that worked for me, and there was a lot of stuff that didn't. But honestly, I'd recommend it. If you like the first one, I guarantee you'll like this one. It's not a bad movie. As far as trailers, I only got 2 new ones. Some weird ones here. Give me 1 second. Daddy's Home, which is the new Will Ferrell movie where he's a stepdad to these kids who he has a hard time getting along with these kids. And then their real dad comes along, who's played by Mark Wahlberg, and tries to take back over to home. It's Will Ferrell versus Mark Wahlberg. I liked them and the other guys. I thought they worked well off one another and the other guys. So, I don't know. Hopefully this will be fun. And the other one I got is American Ultra. This is a weird one. Get this. So Jesse Eisenberg plays a stoner that basically is Jason Bourne. The hell? He's a stoner that works at a 7-Eleven, and he finds out he, like I said, is basically Jason Bourne is a secret agent that the CIA is trying to go after. And it's a comedy. It's like, wow, that's a weird fucking concept. That is a really weird concept. And also starring Kristen Stewart. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, and like, who else was in that? Topher Grace. Connie Britton's in that too. I think I've seen her briefly in that trailer. Yeah. So, yeah. Also got the fucking Vacation trailer, yay. Also got, this was a funny part, I got, beginning of the movie, my movie theater, Regal Cinemas, is doing like a Stars of Hope thing, and M. Night Shyamalan popped up before the preview started, and he was thanking everybody for Stars of Hope. And my question was, can we start a charity so you can stop making movies? I would love that. I would donate $1 million if I could, so I could stop M. Night Shyamalan from making movies. Or Hollywood. Hell, I'll start a charity to fucking stop people, Hollywood from remaking movies like fucking Vacation. Ugh. Man, I hope that. I don't know. Fuck it. I have no hopes in that whatsoever. Alright, then I'm gonna get off here. I'll be back probably Wednesday with Terminator Genesis. Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm hearing already bad things about it, so yay. So, yeah, until then, I will talk to you guys later.